Hello, welcome to the C++ MCQ questions. The first one, wrapping data and its related functionality into a single entity is known as encapsulation. In object-oriented programming, the property of enclosing the data and its related functions into a single entity. In C++, we call them as classes is called as encapsulation. Answer is encapsulation. Second question, how structures and classes in C++ differ? The options are, in structures, members are public by default, whereas in classes, they are private by default. In structures, members are private by default, whereas in classes, they are public by default. Structures are default hide every member, whereas classes do not. Structures cannot have the private members, whereas classes can have. The answer is, in structure the members are public by default, whereas in classes they are private by default. So structure public and classes private. Structure members are public by default, whereas class members are private by default. Both of them can have private and public members. Both the structure and class, they can have the private and public members, but the structure members are public by default and class has private by default. Next question, what does the polymorphism in object-oriented programming means? The answer is concept of allowing overriding of function. In object-oriented programming, polymorphism is the concept of allowing a user to override the functions either by changing the types or number of parameters passed. So polymorphism means the concept of allowing overriding of functions. Next question, which concepts allow you to reuse the written code? Answer is inheritance. Inheritance allows you to reuse your already written code by inheriting the properties of a written code into other parts of the code, hence allowing you to reuse the already written code. So answer is inheritance. Next question, which of the following explains polymorphism? Polymorphism, as we already discussed, overriding of the function. So the option C, polymorphism means overriding the same function by changing the types or the number of arguments. So we have only two options which has the same function names, but as one can observe that in one option types, name and number of parameters all are same, which will lead to an error, hence that is wrong. So option having the same name and the different types or number of parameter is correct. So option C, where it is having both the same name function, the types are different. So option C, that is polymorphism. Which of the following shows multiple inheritance? The option is C option is correct. In multiple inheritance, a single class is inherited from two classes. So in A comma B, class C is inherited from A and B, whereas A determines B determines C, that C from B and B from A is called as simple inheritance. In A determines B, A determines C, B and C are inherited from A, which is called as hierarchical inheritance. So the multiple inheritance, the option C is single class is inherited from two classes. So C is inherited from A and B. C class is inherited the features from the class A and class B. So that is multiple inheritance. How access specifiers in class helps in abstraction. They allow us to show only required things to outer world. Abstraction is the concept of hiding the things from the out, outer world and showing only the required things to the world, which is where access specifiers, private, protected, public, that helps in keeping our knowledge hidden from the world. So abstraction, they allows us to only show the only required things to the outer world. C++ is dashed. The option is correct option is both procedure and object oriented programming language. C++ supports both procedural step-by-step instructions and object oriented using the concept of classes and objects. What does modularity mean? The option is subdividing program into small independent parts. Modularity means dividing a program into independent subprograms so that it can be invoked from the other parts of the same program or any other program. So option B is the correct. Modularity means dividing program into small independent parts. Which of the following feature of object-oriented programming is not used in the following C++ code? The option correct is polymorphism. Following features of OOPS is not used in the following C++ code. Class A, Class B. As explanation, as I and J, the members are private. They are hidden from the outer world, therefore we have used the concept of abstraction. Next, data members are their related functions are put together into a single class, therefore encapsulation is used. Also, as class B, that is derived from the A, therefore inheritance concept is used, but as no function is overloaded in any of the classes, therefore concept of polymorphism is missing here. So the overloaded in any of the classes. Concept of polymorphism is missing. So option is D. Which of the following is not a type of constructor? So friend constructor. Friend function is not a constructor, whereas other type constructors are used in for object initialization. The option A is the friend function is not a type of constructor. Which of the following is correct? The derived class pointer objects cannot point to a base class object. The option B, where C++ does not allow a derived class pointer to point a base class pointer, whereas base class can point to a derived class object. Both base class and derived class can have the pointer objects. So derived class pointer objects cannot point to a base class objects. The option B, derived class pointer objects that cannot point to base class object. Out of the following, which is not a member of class? Static function, friend function, constant function, virtual function. Friend function is not a member of the class. They are given the same access rate as the class member function, but they are not actual members of the class. So friend function is not a member of the class. What is the other name used for function inside a class? The correct option, member function. Function inside a class is member functions. Functions of a class are also known as member functions of a class. Which of the following is cannot be a friend? Objects. Objects of any class cannot be made a friend of any other or same class, whereas functions, classes, and operator functions can be made friend. Okay, the answer is C. Objects of any class cannot be made a friend of any other or the same class where functions, classes, or operator function can be made. Functions, classes, and operator functions that can be made friend. So option C is correct. Why references are different from pointers? A reference cannot be made null. A references cannot be changed once initialized. No extra operator is needed for dereferencing of a reference. All of the mentioned. So all of the mentioned. The correct answer is D. References cannot be made null, whereas pointer can be. References cannot be changed, whereas pointers can be modified. Pointers need star operator to determine the value present inside it, whereas reference does not need an operator for dereferencing. Which of the following that provides a programmer with the facility of using the object of a class inside the other classes? Facility of using object of a class inside the other classes. That is composition. The concept of using the object of one class into another class is known as composition. Composition means the object of one concept of using object of one class into another class is known as composition. How many types of polymorphism are there in C++? Two types of polymorphism in C++, namely runtime and compile time polymorphism. Runtime and compile time polymorphism. How runtime polymorphism are implemented in C++? So runtime are implemented by using the inheritance and virtual functions. Runtime polymorphism is implemented using the inheritance and virtual, in which object decides which functions to call. It uses the inheritance and virtual. So there are two types of polymorphism. The one is runtime and compile time. So the runtime polymorphism are implemented in C++ using the inheritance and virtual, in which object decides which functions to call. How compile time polymorphisms are implemented in C++ using the templates. Compile time polymorphism is implemented using the templates, in which the types which can be checked during the compile time are used to decide which function to be called. So compile time polymorphism is implemented using the templates. Which of the following is an abstract data type? Class. Class is used as an abstract data type. It can be used to give the implementation of independent view, whereas no other data type can be used to provide this. So answer is C. C is a abstract data type, that is class. Class is used as an abstract data type. Which concepts means the addition of new component to a program as it runs? Which concept means addition of a new component to a program as it runs? The answer is dynamic loading. Dynamic loading is the concept of adding a new component to a program as it runs. Adding a new component to a program as it runs. So that is dynamic loading. Answer C. Which of the following approach is used by C++? It's a bottom-up approach. C++ is an object-oriented language, and object-oriented language uses the bottom-up approach to solve or view a problem. So C++ that uses the bottom-up approach for solving the problem. So these are the few important C++ MCQ questions. So in the next tutorial, we will see some more C++ questions. Thank you.